Hi, if you're new here, my name's Charlotte, and if you're not familiar with the channel, then I started this channel in November 2024, having recorded my life for 18 months, not deciding yet to launch a YouTube channel, but now I'm making my video diaries public. Before I share the contents of this video, I need to add a trigger warning for any viewers watching this who may find it distressing. I do talk about my journey of being diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety and depression. I do not divulge into the nature of the trauma that I have experienced or the full extent of my symptoms. However, I do discuss my journey through deciding to go for therapy, accessing therapy, and the effects that starting therapy has had on my journey. Please do watch this video with sensitivity. Make sure to lean into your support systems of your friends and your families if this video and the contents of it is difficult to watch. At the end of the video, I am going to quickly summarise some areas where you can access support. But I do want to note that my reasons for sharing this video is that when I recorded this 6 months ago, I didn't believe that I would get to where I am now. And my hope is to demystify the process for others who may feel that they need to access therapy or other support. And I want you to know that you're not alone, and I promise you things will get better. The right support is out there, and I'm going to be sharing my whole journey, so join with me and I hope we can build a supportive community. So I will see you again at the end of the video for a bit of a brief summary and some guidance as to where you may be able to access some support if you find anything in this video distressing. So I've definitely said this before, and I'll say it again. There's something amazing about how much water calms me and brings me perspective in life. Yeah, I think I've come down because I'm struggling. I've had a day where I'm struggling today. I think sometimes your head gets full, doesn't it? And it's fine. Like I can function with a full brain. Most people do every day. Like there's very rarely a time where your brain's not full and you haven't got lots of things going on and trying to focus on and deal with. And in my case, even if I am in one of those rare episodes where there's not much going on, my brain is like, hang on, that doesn't sound right, let's start panicking about something. And then you start randomly panicking about like some very ridiculous thing. But yeah, at the moment there's lots of legitimate things going on in the brain, and I'm worrying about things that could be, and there's a likelihood that they could be, so that brings with it some difficulty. And one thing I guess is just like, if you're ever going through anything where you're waiting on information, it's the fear of the unknown, and that's the worst thing. And it brings me back to like when my mum had cancer, and I used to describe it as feeling like a puppet on a string, like not having control over my life and what was going on and things like that. And that's so difficult, and that can be so anxiety provoking. And as humans, as part of our fight or flight response, we're designed to look for problems and fear and think about the worst case scenario. So we're actually very, very good at thinking negative thoughts. Like, we're hardwired to do that, some of us more than others. So it's really hard when the negative thoughts start coming to stop them. So yeah, just a bit of reality, really, checking in. I had a good cry today,
that's why I can come and talk as I am now and be quite sort of pragmatic about things. Yeah, I think it's probably pointless me sort of fully debriefing at the moment until we know about more what's going on. But yeah, it's been a day of processing emotions, and I've actually decided today to embark on some more therapy. So I've actually had therapy a couple of times now. I had some bereavement counselling when Mum passed away through the university, because I was in first year of uni at the time and living away. So that was my first experience of it, and it was a condition of my personal tutor at the time, because I'd gone and said enough's enough, I'm dropping out, and she said only if you do 6 weeks of therapy and still feel the same way. So I was sort of going through the motions because I felt like I had to, and actually I would dread the Tuesday afternoon sessions, because it felt like a can of worms was being opened, but they were really transformational for me. One in itself, just realising that therapy is not rocket science, and talking about your emotions is therapeutic in itself. Talking it, saying it out loud, sometimes bouncing it off somebody who you don't know or somebody who's trained to help you process that and bring that out. But secondly, actually picking apart your thoughts and your emotions, and sometimes having a bit of a breakthrough on something verbally that you couldn't have processed just floating around in your brain. And then I actually had some cognitive behavioural therapy, I think it was 2 years ago now, to deal with my anxiety that I was feeling, that I seemed to pick up when I was a mental health nurse. And I was going through this motion of, I can't go for therapy, I can't access support, I'm supposed to be the person who's trained to give people support, I can't access that. How weak am I if I need it instead of being able to give it? But actually that defies the whole point, doesn't it, of like working in mental health and working in the NHS and knowing that we all need help sometimes. And that was actually quite pivotal for me in my sort of outlook on life and knowing how to understand what was reality and what was my brain's pattern that I'd trained myself to think and believe and feel. So yeah, I'm about to go through some more therapy, different type this time. I've got like a first assessment next week to just see what that might look like, to try and help me process. I think there's a lot of change that's been subtly happening for me, but also there's a lot of change on the horizon for our family and other things. So it feels like a proactive step, like taking vitamins. You do that proactively, you don't do it after the fact that something's gone wrong. I'm trying to be proactive in managing my emotions and my thoughts and my feelings, life basically. It's a big thing in America that it's positive, so I don't get why we don't have that over here in the UK. So yes, that's my update for now. I must look hilarious. I keep checking that there's not some random person here just watching me ramble into the camera. Here I am lying along the side of the river, but honestly I was crying and didn't think it would be a good idea to get in the car before, and now that I'm here and I've been watching the mountains on my way here, and I'm here now and the mountains are all around me and I'm by the water, I feel so much more like myself. Honestly, I keep saying that the mountains like stroke my brain, and I really do think that they do. Okay, so hopefully check back in tomorrow and let you know how we're getting on. Bye. I'm gonna have to make this quick because
the camera's about to die. I just thought I'd check in because I went to therapy yesterday, and it was sort of an introduction session to see where I could go, what route I could go down. And one thing I want to say is that it did open a can of worms for me. I was nervous about that. If anybody's watching this and is expecting or is thinking about undergoing any sort of therapeutic interventions, I would just say that it can open a can of worms. I mean, that's the idea. Ultimately, that can feel uncomfortable. But today I feel a lot better and clearer in some areas, new thoughts in other areas. So I think on the whole, really grateful that I've done it. I've now got an idea of what sort of avenue that I need to go down, because there's so many different types of therapeutic interventions. But I think one thing that I was reflecting on the way home is that there's so much strength in just saying how you do or don't want to feel. So if something's happening and you don't want to feel that way, just being able to verbalise that I do this and I don't like that I do this, that is a massive step in the right direction. And that's something that I couldn't do a few years ago. Being able to acknowledge your flaws and your areas of improvement, there's absolutely no shame in that. There's so much strength in that, and being able to identify them where you do want to get to. That's the next step. So I don't want this, but this is what I do want, this is where I would like to aim to be. And then the next step is moving towards that. And often times you have to move backwards and you have to look backwards and you have to unpick and able to move on. I think I actually thought I was probably further down the line than I actually am. And my trick is to know when it's me that's the problem, that I'm struggling, is when I am wholly focused on somebody else's actions and somebody else's input. That often means that I'm not keeping myself in check. If I'm focusing on them, that means that I need to start focusing on me, because what can I do about the situation? Ultimately, the only thing that we can change or affect is ourselves. Yeah, watch this space. There's lots of movement, lots of change, and yeah, I'm trying to embrace that. I'm trying to just keep thinking that what's meant for you will not pass you by. So I'm open to opportunities and what might come along. So yes, before I start rambling, or before this camera dies, I'm going to leave it there. So yes, hopefully I've not looked too miserable whilst I've been filming this, because sometimes I've noticed that I do feel miserable, or I do look miserable. So I'm going to enjoy this cup of tea and catch you later. I've been putting this off for like 3 weeks now, but I've just sat for about an hour and a half and I've been writing in my journal, and it's definitely helping to like process things and talk about things. I just don't know if this is too raw right now. Okay. So, I haven't filmed anything for about 3 weeks now, and I haven't worn any form of makeup or anything, or even washed my hair or brushed my teeth recently most days, but my 2 nieces convinced me today to put some makeup on, so I've put a little bit of makeup on. I've probably cried most of it off now, but yeah, I think before too much time passes and I just miss the chance to talk about things. I said I was going to make these videos because I wanted to actually keep things real, and my diary that I write in is very real. I'm writing it when things are great, when things are bad, and actually probably not very much when things are somewhere in between, but I think this might never go anywhere. I might never ever even be able to watch this again, but in the interest of holding myself accountable and being honest, I have been going through a really difficult period. A few things have happened recently that led for me to go for a counselling session. It was a bit of I was trying to be proactive and go for some counselling, preempting some problems that would arise and trying to be sort of ahead of it and trying to deal with it in a healthy way. So it was sort of like general like therapy counselling sessions, and then at the end of the session I was told that I'd spent the hour talking about trauma, which wasn't what I thought I was going in to talk about. I thought it was just sort of general like being anxious and feelings of anxiety. So I ended up going for an NHS assessment through talking therapies, and I was given a diagnosis of complex PTSD with anxiety and depression. And although it doesn't change anything, and you know that's something that I've had for a long time, it's problems that it's the same problem that I've been dealing with for a long time, but having that sort of perspective and the label given to it, I guess, was a little bit tough to swallow. Obviously with my background as a mental health nurse and knowing the things that I know, I sort of really was trying to be proactive in looking after myself and my mental health, despite the fact that I knew I was struggling with a few things. So to get those diagnoses was somewhat unexpected, but kind of like a bit of a penny drop moment of like, okay, yeah, that does make sense. And that sort of started me with a bit of an unravelling really of things lately. And I've ended up taking some time off work to just get things sorted. I've actually, it was 45 weeks wait for the NHS talking therapies, which is so long when you're struggling. And I'm in the fortunate position that I could afford to go privately, so that was a 2-week wait, and I've started that now. I think I probably went back to work sooner than I should have done, which means I've had to go back off work again. And I'm trying so hard to do things that I know are going to make me feel better, but nothing's really working at the moment. So I'm just checking in because I read in my diary something from last year where I've said, I was actually writing it on the 29th of November, post dated back to the 28th of October, and I was like, I wrote this in my phone and I'm writing it into my diary, but I just want to give myself in the future a note to say, this is going to be a difficult entry to read, but just know that it's a month later and things are much better, so give yourself time and things do get better. So that's what I'm coming to do here again, I guess, is to just remind myself that things do get better. But also, like, life happens and things are shit, and like, it's such a taboo area, like the amount of anxiety that I've had even just talking to work about the fact that I've had anxiety and all these other things. It's just, sometimes we're not kind enough to ourselves, are we? I don't think. So I don't know what's around the corner, but I just know that things need to change and life needs to be different, and life is short and we're so blessed to be here, and you can get better and things can get better, things can improve. It is hard at times, you know. I do think the right help's out there, so I don't have much in me at the moment to say anything else.
Hello. Didn't plan on getting the camera out today. However, I have washed my hair, put some makeup on, and ticked a few things off my to-do list. I've decided to just check in. At this moment in time, I don't know how much of what's happened in the last few weeks I can and maybe even should talk about on camera. I just it's been very, very painful. It's been an extremely, extremely difficult few weeks. I do remember, I think it might have been around 3 weeks ago, checking in. I've not been able to watch the video back, so I don't know if I talked at that time about the process, but there's been a few conversations that I've had with people since then, because since I had that diagnosis, things have been extremely difficult, and they, for a few weeks, were becoming increasingly more so. For me, because I have been on what I saw as a well-being journey and trying to look after my own mental health, given that I was a mental health nurse and know probably more about it than the average person, understanding that actually the issues that I need to deal with are rooted a lot earlier and perhaps in my childhood, and I need to go back further and deeper than I first understood that I needed to, was a bit of a shock. And I then was experiencing sort of acceptance of, right, well actually, okay, so what are the things that I do need to deal with and what are the things that I do need to process? And a lot of those did come from my childhood, and my mind became flooded with thoughts and emotions and feelings that I have probably blocked out for a long time, and some things I didn't even know I remembered or thought about or felt. So things got really, really tough. I don't think I need to I don't know if it's worth telling everybody how bad things got. I don't think it's gonna help me. I don't know if it's gonna help anyone. To talk about what's happened over the last few weeks, I don't think would be helpful. Suffice to say, it's been the lowest, most difficult period in my life, and I'm at the moment just taking each day as it comes. I'm not really thinking beyond the next few days at a time. I've been receiving support through professionals to deal with what I'm dealing with, and I'm sort of seeing this as day one or week 1 or week 2 or however long I'm into it now, probably about 2 weeks.
since I really hit rock bottom, for me to now move into the next chapter. I am all over the place, so I haven't checked in for a while. I've not spoken to friends or seen friends for a while. I'm trying to keep the box as small as possible to deal with what's happened and process that in my own time and in my own way, because at the moment I can't think about the future. I'm struggling to deal with what's happened recently, and I need to also be able to engage in my therapy sessions to talk about what's happened in the past. So at the moment, I'm literally taking things day by day. I am on medication, and that's something that I've never ever done in my life before. I had some difficult side effects in the first week. I'm into week 2 and I'm starting to feel a little bit more like myself. I couldn't really string sentences together. Last week I was very sedated and out of it. And for somebody who's never gone and, done any... I'm not somebody to put substances into my body, basically. Apart from Prosecco, we all know that I like that, and a cocktail every now and then. But it's been really strange to get to know myself again and to understand myself again. So I'm really taking things slowly. I'm trying to get back to the basics of what's good. So today I am celebrating the fact that I've seen a professional this morning. We've got a bit of an updated plan. I had a coffee with my grandparents, and I'm now going to try and clean the space around me, because I'm just feeling the benefits of being methodical and cleaning, and that in itself, at the moment I feel like I've got the time to do that. So I'm just going to take the house room by room, clean, clear, and then check back in when I feel like I can to talk about some of the other things that I've been up to and doing and utilising my time to try and heal. Some days it's just about getting through the day. Other days I feel like I can do something a bit more positive. I need to do some exercise because this medication that I'm on is very likely to lead you to weight gain, and that's not something that I would like to deal with at the moment. So potentially some exercise later this afternoon or this evening. So let's just see what happens. This was a very impromptu pick-up of the camera now that I've fixed the lens. I'd sort of built myself up to not doing anything, or not... I haven't written in my diary, I haven't picked up the camera. I like to wait until I think I can do things properly, or I can say things properly, and maybe that's one of my major downfalls, is trying to perfect everything. So this is raw, this is natural, this is today. I might watch this back and think, I can't possibly share this. One word for how I feel at the moment, and I don't know if it's the medication, but I just sort of feel flat. I don't feel up, I don't feel down. I definitely teeter into sort of anxious and low thoughts and feelings, but I have a bit of time at the moment to try and do something positive to counteract that. So let's see. Maybe this is a bit of a barrier that I had to come to get past. So yeah, let's see what happens. I've just had to have a little minute in the car because I've driven to Aldi and I'm ready to go into public yet. Just come out of my therapy session. It was the first session, so it was my 6th session, but it was the first one of actually starting the re-exposure work. And yeah, it was the first session where I actually had to close my eyes and talk about things as though it was happening in the present, and it was hard. It was harder than I thought it was going to be, because I always just I have this mentality of if you talk things through, you can process it, it gets easier. But actually going back and re-exposure work is tough. And mine wasn't just my memory of it. I actually found a diary that I used to keep, and I was able to actually read out what was happening at the time and stuff. So yeah, it was hard, and I'm aware that the video diaries ended quite abruptly there, so it's me from the future again. I appreciate this is not an uplifting video, but I imagine by looking at the thumbnail and the title of the video you knew that that wasn't what to anticipate. I promise you things do get more uplifting, and life has continued, and I have been able to move forward, and I do feel better than I did last year. My journey is very much ongoing, but there's a real desire right now for me to try and help others. I've long had that desire. I was a mental health nurse. I think it's something built inside me that I want to do, but I feel like I can do it on a completely different level now that I've really experienced the difficulties myself. I just wanted to list some areas where you may be able to start accessing some support. I will write a detailed list in the information box below the video, so please do check that out. But the first place to start is your GP practice. I actually used to be a project manager for 6 GP practices, and I understand the extent to which they are going to now to expand their workforce, so that there are not just doctors and nurses there are mental health professionals. You can ask to speak to mental health professionals within the practice, or they can signpost you to the right support. You can also self-refer to NHS talking therapies. As I've mentioned in the video, there is a long wait list. But by accessing that and gaining a diagnosis, that helps signpost you again to the right support. There are also a number of charities where you can access free support, and if you're looking for accessing private support and you're looking for somebody who can give you CBT like what I've been accessing, then make sure that they are BACP registered. Again, have a look in the box below. I've added as much information as I can think of. Please do not use this as an extensive list. There is lots of information online as to where you can access support, but my main message is there is support out there, and that support will help. I hope this helps just one person to feel some reassurance that things will get better, because I promise you they will. Time does help, time does heal, but it's what you do with that time. Following this video, I'm so nervous to post this, but once I have, I'm going to be running a Q&A on my Instagram to see what information people would find helpful around this. So if you haven't, then if you want to follow me over on Instagram and you watch this video within the first week, I will be next week recording a Q&A video about trauma and PTSD and anxiety and depression. If you have any questions, either drop them in the comments below the video or over on my Instagram, and I'm hoping to create a bit of an informative video before I return back to my usual vlog style videos. I appreciate the sensitive nature of this video, and I just want you to know that you're not on your own, and I promise you things will get better. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.